y'all. Cinephile Mike is here, and it is the last day of September, and it is day 59 of Oscar Rewind, my bi-weekly series of video commentary reflecting the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I've been digging into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you have discovered a new, older favorite, or maybe seen something you haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the recent Oscar connection, awards history for the film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. Now, before we dive in, please do me a favor, click that subscribe button, because you definitely want to be a part of all the cinematic goodness here on Rewind and on the channel. So, it's a wrap on Visuals Month with one more look at editing, and we are looking at Screen Gems and Sony Pictures' Black and White. Written and directed by James Toback, the film was released in the spring of 2000 after its debut the previous fall at the Telluride Film Festival. By the end of its run, the film failed to recoup its investment, making $5,277,299 domestically and an additional $264,132 internationally for a worldwide take of $5,541,431. Not very strong against its reported $12 million budget. Critically, the film didn't fare too well with the critics either. With 83 critical ratings, the film sits with a 39%, and even lower on the popcorn meter, the film has a 29% from over 5,000 audience reviews on the popcorn meter. Award season-wise, well, there wasn't one. As per our usual source, IMDb, the film shows no awards season recognition. So, am I ending this month on a weaker note? Well, let's see. Here's what I will say. Given the stacked deck of this cast, Robert Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, Jared Leto, Joe Pantoliano, Brooke Shields, Claudia Schiffer, Scott Conn, Gaby Hoffmann. Okay, so here we go. As we are looking at wrapping up the visual month with a look at editing, I'm going to bring up that this film was edited by Myron Kerstein. Now, Kerstein is a film editor for about 25 years who racked up 2 Oscar nods on his last 2 projects. In 2022, he was nominated for his work editing the Jonathan Larson biopic Tick, Tick, Boom, and this past year he earned his second nod for editing the musical opus Wicked. Chances are good that he may get nominated again next year as he has finished the edit on Wicked for good. Black and White, which we are discussing today, was his first credited editing job about 25 years ago. So let's get into it. Black and White is set in turn-of-the-century New York City, late 90s, early aughts. Setting the tone at this time, hip-hop was really kind of at its height, and teens were exploring all aspects of this culture. As one character, Charlie, played by Bijou Phillips, she says, "I want to be black." And she also alludes to the fact that maybe she will change her mind one day, but this is who she wants to be, which is juxtaposed from her very upper class bringing, where they're expecting you to use the right forks and all these things, you know, in the Upper West, Upper East Side, versus the more laid back hip hop culture she is being drawn towards. We meet Charlie's group of friends, primarily her classmates at a prestigious prep school, including her boyfriend Ren, played by Elijah Wood, Marty, played by Eddie K. Thomas, and Raven, played by Gaby Hoffmann. They love nothing more than to hang with Rich Bauer, an up-and-coming hip-hop artist played by original Wu-Tang Clan member Oliver Power Grant, and his group, including Dean, played by NBA shooting guard Allen Houston, Mike Tyson, playing himself, and several members of the Wu-Tang Clan, including RZA, Ghostface Killer, Raekwon, Method Man, Master Killer, and Inspector Deck, either playing themselves or versions of themselves for the purposes of this film. Also prominently hanging out with them is Will, played by William Lee Scott, who is Marty's brother, who both have to deal with the unapproving opinions of their father, Bill King, who's played by Joe Pantoliano, who happens to be the district attorney of New York, and Dean's girlfriend, Greta, played by supermodel Claudia Schiffer. Now, one day, while hanging outside school, Charlie and her group meet documentary filmmaker Sam Doniger, played by Brooke Shields, and her husband, Terry, played by Robert Downey Jr. Sam wants to make a documentary about white youths who are imitating hip-hop life. Following them, she gets a taste of what their lives are like. Meanwhile, in a separate plot, one day, Dean, a basketball player here in the film as well, is accosted by a bookie named Mark, played by Ben Stiller, who wants him to throw an upcoming game. To do this, Dean will make significant money, but not without the legal consequences that could stem from this. However, we will see that this goes far beyond just the game and brings other characters from the aforementioned groups into a complicated web of deceit and betrayal, as we see that Mark is not who he presents himself to be. So here's the thing. There's a lot here. And here's the problem. There's a lot that writer-director Toback wants to get across, and it almost seems that there are like 3 separate films, all which would have been stellar, mashed together into one, and as a result, none of them really get the fair shot that they deserve in this film's all-too-brief 98 minutes. Now, Toback is a previous Oscar nominee for writing the Warren Beatty and Annette Bening biopic Bugsy, and he has written and directed several other films, but on this one, he elected to have the cast improvise a lot of the dialogue, and as a result, it kind of works both for and against the film. Now, given everything that he was trying to accomplish, some are able to deliver what they had to do, and others could not. Now, the primary plot surrounding Rich and his music career and addressing the race relationships with Charlie and her group of friends, that's the most fascinating story to follow. Adding the fact that Shields' Sam wanted to make a film about it, okay. But we then get that chewed-in side plot, the one involving Stiller's Mark and Houston's Dean, and that side plot involves a lot of, it's kind of fortunate circumstances. As things roll out, we see that this had to be true for this to happen for this, so it almost doesn't make realistic sense. And I don't want to give it away too much without spoiling it, because some people may want to check this film out. Look, this was a talented cast. I was excited to sit down and watch this, and I said, maybe those reviews aren't quite what they needed to be. They kind of are. And the other thing, too, it's unfortunate. Some of these performers, like Hoffmann, Pantoliano, Wood, and one I forgot to mention, Jared Leto, who plays Casey, a teacher at Charlie's school, they really get sidelined. Their plots don't really get explored or resolved. We get a little bit of a resolution over the credits where we see where some of these characters land, but it doesn't seem earned. And also, one of the other plot lines, again, I feel like I keep having different plot lines. Sam's husband, Terry, the always delightful Downey Jr., he plays a character that deserved a lot better than he got. Though, mini spoiler, there's an improvised scene between him and Mike Tyson that was very interesting to watch. Look, the film's quasi-documentary look doesn't help much and kind of negates the film within the film that the character Sam wanted to make here. And trying to follow all of these plots, it gets too muddled. I know I've said that, but I keep coming back to that idea. You know, one would have to wonder, maybe if they had restructured this film and it all played out in a documentary that Sam was making, would that have served it better? Toback even gives himself a small role in the film, and even his role, and while there is a significance to it, it doesn't land. That said, I applaud what he was trying to do to capture the vibes, of the New York City zeitgeist in a pre-9/11 world. I had high hopes. They just weren't met. And what also didn't help was some of the really choppy editing. I'm glad to say that having seen Tick, Tick, Boom, Wicked, and Crazy Rich Asians among the other films that Kerstein has worked on, his work has gotten much better and much more solid. I mean, yay, this was your first film, but it was a little too disorienting at times. It was a little bit too haphazard, and I found that it took me out of the film. But again, with everything else going on, that was the least of my problems. So look, after all of this, I applaud what Toback wanted to do, and, hey, 5 stars for an attempted effort. It isn't easy attacking some of the content that he did in this, but because of all these disjointed elements, this film, I really can't go more than 2 stars for me. It's just okay. The tropes are a little too stereotypical, and the film seems to want to say too much and can't stop tripping over itself to get it across. But if you are curious to catch it, as I was, it is available for digital rental or purchase on most platforms. I could not find any streaming information for this one. I shelled out $4 for a digital rental. So, that is where we leave it, and that is a wrap on Visual Month. When we come back on Friday, we will be in October and looking at the artists who scored and provided key musical moments from this past year's Oscar-nominated films. And there are some fun classics and horror titles in that month, so I do hope you'll come and join me. As always, if you like what you heard here, please click that button, subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd, and find lots of great additional cinematic goodness on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right, happy watching, everyone, and until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.